Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Season 3 of the Mercedes-AMG eRacing competition. We had a fantastic Round 1 2 weeks ago at the Hockenheimring, a fantastic battle for the lead. And today, on our trip through history, we bid farewell after such a short stint to the 1992 190E Evo 2, a car which has been just so wonderful to watch on track, power drifting around corners. Today, though, it races around a track, which it never did in real life. We'll explain more later. To introduce ourselves, my name is James Kirk, and alongside me, as always, Mr. Rob Wiesemuller. And Rob, let us explain a little further about this car and track combo. A car we are quite well acquitted to now, the Evo 2, wonderful to watch. But today, it goes around a track which it's never participated at, the Euro Speedway Lausitz.
Hello James, hello everyone watching from home. Yeah, it's a special occasion here for the second round of the Mercedes-AMG Motorsport eRacing competition. As James mentioned, we're going to the Lausitzring, and that track was not even built back in 1992, back when this car here, the Mercedes 190 Evo 2, was racing in the DTM. So yeah, Klaus Ludwig here, he never had the chance to move this car on this track, but in the virtual racing with RaceRoom racing experience, everything is possible here for the second round of the eRacing competition.
And like I said 2 weeks ago, we like to relive history this season. We're also looking to make a bit of history, and history made today as we bid goodbye to one of the classic cars, Rob, 1992 champion, of course, Mercedes' first DTM champion winning car. It's been wonderful to see the battles that each individual driver has been having with it, both in terms of wrestling it round the circuits in the hot lap qualifying for both the events, but also out on track. And really one of the highlights of the entire competition in its history so far occurred 2 weeks ago. We'd highly recommend, by the way, after this broadcast, if you've not watched it, to go and see round one. We had a wonderful battle, didn't we, between Julian Kunze and Kevin Sigi-Rebenak for the win, pretty much nose to tail for the last couple of laps, and maybe that actually links us in quite nicely to take a little look at the driver standings going into round two.
Yeah, we're taking a look here, but first we go into detail on the championship standings. Let me just reintroduce the format of the competition here for everyone who's maybe watching for the first time. So this is a virtual racing competition, an e-racing competition held on RaceRoom Racing Experience, a game that you can get for free for the PC. You can download it and you can join the competition. The link is in the description of the video, or you can just go on the RaceRoom page. You can join it for free and you can try to qualify for one of these live streamed events here. We do a multiplayer championship, 9 rounds. The 5 best drivers go to the DTM final at the Hockenheimring and compete against the real Mercedes-AMG DTM drivers. And at the moment it's looking very good for Julian Kunze from Euronics Gaming, because he's leading the championship.
Well, not only that, Rob, but he has had a fantastic start to the year overall, winning a LAN event over in Germany, of course, a week ago now. The guy is in hot form. Kevin Sigi-Rebenak, we expect to be up there. He's always at the front in whatever car you put him in. But perhaps a few names in that top 5, Rob, which there's a bit of intrigue surrounding. So Tim Yarshall, one of the youngest ever competitors in the e-racing competition, 14 years old, I think, and he's up there in P3, put in a really measured display 2 weeks ago. Andre Santos, one of the first ever podium sitters in the competition, looks like he's looking for a bit of a renewed effort on the championship this time around. Of course, Kunze's pseudo teammate. We don't really have teams in the e-racing competition, but people do assign themselves to outfits. There are contracts involved and such, so maybe they'll be helping each other in certain ways. But perhaps one of the biggest surprises, Rob, was that man in P4, Andika Ramamalana, the Indonesian, who we were expecting decent things. There was a lot of hype surrounding him, certainly from the Asian community. And he put himself on the podium, a 3rd place. It was incredibly impressive. The reason why he's on 10 points, though, below Tim Yarshall, and apologies if I did say Yarshall was on the podium, completely bypassed my mind. Malona was on 15 points, but he had a bit of a naughty contact with protagonist from last season, Jack Keithley. That gave him a -5 point penalty, which is why he is on the same amount of points as Santos going into round 2.
Yeah, Jack Keithley, certainly one of the favorites in this competition, and he got spun around in the hairpin at Hockenheim. Lost out a lot, he was fighting for a podium, and the 5-point penalty for Andika Rama Molana, I think it's a just penalty for the incident, was certainly not on purpose, but we can already see in the first race there was plenty of action.
So of course it's important to remember that the crucial point that you went over it in the intro, Rob, but maybe for those of you who've only just tuned into Season 3 and not Season 2, in Season 2 we had 6 places up for grabs from the live championship, which you're seeing here today. This year you got 5, and so all of a sudden that 5-point penalty might be all the more crucial when it comes to this season. I mean, imagine if Maulana is still in the hunt with 1 championship left to go, and he misses out by a point. All of a sudden, those 5 could be oh so crucial, and it kind of it pays big respect to the drivers who don't get in trouble, because ultimately that's what's going to keep you the most points and help you on your way to the live finale.
But at the same time, as we're having a look at the calendar right now, we're still very early in the season. It's only round 2, so only 1 round has gone past. So there's still plenty of time for a driver like Andika Rama Molana to bounce back from his mistake. Because here at the Lausitzring, especially last year, we saw Jack Keithley winning the race, but picking up a 20-point penalty for cutting the track and also for spinning Kevin Sigi-Revenak. And he still managed to make it into the live final as the driver with the most points, just bounced back from it, changed his driving style a little bit, and so nothing is lost for Maulana, or nothing is lost for any of the drivers really, as we take a look here at the entry list, because we've actually got some new drivers in the field.
Yeah, we absolutely do. So, looking at some names that you might potentially recognize, Adam Pinches, the Hungarian, well known for his touring car outings. He's managed to qualify today. Davide Toccacelli as well, the Italian getting into the mix. We've got some returning faces like Vajric, like Santos, Rebenak and Kunzer, of course. But one of the big ones I want to highlight out of this list, Rob, is Norbert Leitner. We talk about Adam Pinches and his success in touring cars elsewhere. Leitner is a multiple-time race winner and podium sitter in esports sim racing touring cars. He's one to watch out for, and certainly in pre-qualifying 4th position, I imagine he might very well follow up with some pace in the real event today.
And if you wonder who is your favorite driver, if you wonder how you can spot them on the track, the numbers here that are on this info sheet, these are the numbers that are also on the car, and the little edge at the end of the black and blue bar that signals the color of the mirrors and the stripe above the windscreen. So if you have a lot of cars there in the action and you don't really know which one's your favorite driver, then just remember this info sheet here. You can also find it on the Facebook and the Twitter of RaceRoom, so you can print it out if you like, and then you can easily spot your favorite driver. But with 5 minutes to go in practice, maybe let's jump back into the action here and let's go for 1 lap around the track. Coming up here with Kevin Sigi-Revenak, who is in first position, car with the number 1 and first position so far in the practice session. You can see here into the first corner, hard braking zone. You have to be very careful that you don't go too far over the green area on the exit, because that will give you cut warning. And a lot of curb there on the inside. Once again here you have to hook up your car on the curves. Doesn't quite hit the curves here. Now you go back onto the oval part of the Lausitzring. And here's where we turn left. We're not doing exactly the same layout as the DTM this year. We're running the old DTM layout. You can take so many different lines in this corner. Sigi goes a little bit too wide over the curb. And now this long right-hander here. Never really sure when you can go fully on the throttle. You can see he's kind of drifting a little bit. Push the rear of the car out a little bit so you can keep a narrow line through the corner. Hard braking here just before the green part on the right side. Once again, a little bit over the curb, but this curb is really high, so it can unsettle your car. This corner is flat out, and now we're into the final chicane before we get back onto the oval section of the track. Very tight and twisty, not easy to overtake, but it's important to get a fantastic exit coming out of this corner, so that it lines you up for a good run or the start-finish straight.
there for Kevin Rebenak, the Slovenian. It's an interesting position that he finds himself in, Rob, doesn't it? Because so often does he find himself in the bridesmaid, the person who's always up at the front but never winning the races, and he's never won a race in the championship. In fact, with his podium 2 weeks ago, he became the most successful driver in that area. He scored 6 podiums. That's one more than Kuntzer. The difference, of course, Rob, is that Kuntzer's gone on to take a win in his first race in Season 3. Really, it's you feel like the breakthrough is close for Kev, but is there a threat of him being left behind if he doesn't make that breakthrough soon? Because he actually attended the same LAN event, which both Kuntzer and actually Keithley joined as well. He was on the podium there as well, behind Kuntzer.
I think, wow, you can just see him getting sideways there. That was an interesting line. But I think if there's any track where Kevin Rebenak has a shot at winning, it has to be this one here. It has to be the Lausitzring. Because last year he was in the lead before he got turned around by Jack Keithley. Lost a almost certain win there. And once again he's showing the pace. He's showing that he's extremely strong on this track. But look who's in second place. It's Jack Keithley.
Well, that is no surprise to me. Because, I mean, Jack Keithley was there at the top with the front guys as well. It was only thanks to Milana that he found himself low down the order. And actually, this guy as well, Davide Toccacelli, for a debutant, Rob, this is a very impressive showing. Of course, practice and qualifying, very different scenarios. The pressure ramps up immensely once you get to that stage. But very promising signs from the Italian, ahead of current championship leader Kuntzer as well.
Yeah, and Davide Toccacelli, he missed out by 1 position last time in the qualifier. And just to illustrate that, what it means to qualify here for this event, there were over 3,000 drivers once again trying to qualify for this race. So to miss out by 1 spot, that's pretty heartbreaking. But he tried again, and this time he was comfortably in the driver for the ACR Zakspeed team, teammate of Jack Keithley. And I think they've been working together really well here, preparing the setup for this event, and it shows so far on the timing in the practice session.
I mean, you look at the Edge Esports outfit, the only 2 which are in today are Kevin Rebenak and Daniel Sharanku, and then Sharanku's way down the order there, P13. Is actually, it's a statement in itself to qualify for 2 consecutive events, so clearly the pace is there for Sharanku. But there is a slight worry that he might fall away into midfield obscurity, fast enough to qualify every time, but not fast enough to get into that top 10 to score you some points. And actually, to touch back on that point, Rob, about how fine the margins are between qualifying and not qualifying for the event, look at Moritz Lerner, who had an amazing event last time out. He wasn't on the podium, but I think, if I remember correctly, he was 5th. Or you know, or 6th, or, you know, close enough to there. And he didn't even get into this event.
Yeah, and the same must be said about Ben Spunky, who's 6th in the point standings, who's not qualified. And they all tried to qualify, of course, but they didn't make it because the level is so high. I mean, not to discourage anyone to take part in the qualifier, of course.
No, of course.
And it's also a lot of fun just to drive this car around the track and just to see how you stack up. Oh, as Toccacelli goes a little bit over the white line there, behind Keithley, both.
A little bit over the white line. I think that's a very good media response, Rob. He absolutely cut the white line there.
Both ACR Zakspeed drivers out in front, and it's easy to spot the ACR Zakspeed drivers because that is a real Zakspeed car that they ran in the 1992 season. Now they are supporting the eRacing team, and it's great to see that kind of involvement of real motorsports. There's another driver in the field who's called Joe Cortesi, the Spanish driver here, and he's actually in the same livery, but he is supported by Campos Racing, the team that is in the Formula 2 championship in real racing. So it's always great to see these connections between real racing and sim racing, or e-racing, however you want to call it.
I mean, they're a lot more frequent nowadays, aren't they, these partnerships? And I think Zakspeed were very smart partnering with Avid Chronic Racing, who were, before this partnership, one of the most well-known teams in the sim racing scene, top of the class in almost every area. But let's take a little look then at Kevin Sigi-Rebenak, who's come out behind the two ACR cars. He's found a good bit of space as well. I tend to agree with you, Rob. If there is any place which Kevin is going to make his professional e-racing breakthrough to take a win in a major championship, this is probably going to be the place. This is probably going to be the car.
Let's see what his sector times will be, and let's also see how his first lap time will compare to the fastest time of the pre-qualifying. Fastest lap time there, 24.6 by Jaroslav Honzik. Turns in early here for the wide hairpin.
Looking more like a banker. The more this lap goes on, it's like I just want to put a fast lap down. And ultimately, that's kind of what trips up a lot of drivers, isn't it, Rob? Not wanting to go for a banker lap, wanting to just, you know, go flat out, see what, you know, they can do straight from the off. And then all too often, they might find themselves lower down the order. If you can get a safe lap in, oh, as Kev runs a little bit wide there out of turn 8, just going through turn 9 now. Ultimately, if you're able to put in that safe lap in, you'll find yourself up the top as, oh my goodness, really clouting the inside curb. Starting to attack near the end of this lap. Four-wheel power drifting out the edge of the corner here, back onto the oval circuit. We're going to have a little look at the times flying in then. Looking worse and worse for Kevin. The purple middle sector, though actually that's a fantastic fast third sector. That attacking at the end did work out well, and he puts himself onto provisional pole position with Toccacelli in second, Tim Yarshall third. But here comes the man of the moment, Julian Kunze. A bad third sector, Rob. Only good enough for P3. But that suggests to me that there is plenty more time in the bag. Mind you, look at Danny Sharanku as well.
He's got a slipstream from Florian Hasse ahead of him.
Well, I might have...
this could be pole.
I might be eating my words in a bit from Sharanku being far down the order. Yes, it is. Wow. Not even a purple final sector, Rob, but Danny Sharanku takes pole position ahead of his teammate, Kevin Sigi-Rebenak.
And that is a surprise. I don't think anyone really expected Daniel Chiranku, who hasn't scored a point in the first race, to set provisional pole position. Honzik, fastest guy in pre-qualifying, up to 8th position. But we already have drivers who are faster, once again, at least compared to their personal best. No one on the purple sector so far, so green sector means here they're faster than they've been on the lap before. A purple sector means they are faster than the best time overall. And so far Jack Keithley, who's in last position, he's green with the sector times, but that should not put him, that probably shouldn't even put him into the top 10.
Well, he's going close to the wall, isn't he? He wants to make this lap count. And it is into the top 10. It's
Maulana!
Antika Maulana. The prize is everyone again. That's the provisional pole position for the Indonesian.
Wow.
I'm struggling to get over my words because we've got one of the rookiest looking front rows, Rob, I've ever seen in my life. Maulana ahead of Sharanku.
Yeah, both drivers were not in any of the past 2 seasons at all. So it's great to see that new talent can come in and can beat these established guys like Julian Kunze, who's been around for ages in the Mercedes-AMG Motorsport eRacing competition. And the driver from Indonesia puts it on provisional pole. But there are drivers who are on purple sectors now. Tim Yarshall is one of them.
I cannot state this enough. One of the youngest drivers in the field by quite a margin as well. Such a calm head, Rob, as unfortunately it's a little bit of a loss of time there in the second sector green. Jack Keithley on 2 purples, but Yarshall, another one of these rookies for season 3, really impressing me. It's great to see him battling up with these top guys. We're going to stay with Jack Keithley though, because this is looking mighty. Jack Keithley, of course, one of only 3 men in the e-racing competition's history to take a pole position. He's actually taken the most poles in the competition's history with 6. Is it going to be lucky number 7 today? That is a benchmark and a half. 1/10 clear of the rest of the field.
And faster than the fastest time of the pre-qualifying. So Jack Keithley, he was saving a little bit of time for when it matters here in the qualifying session. And what a strong showing by the ACR Zakspeed guys, as Toccacelli is also on a lap that could put him into 2nd place.
Doesn't go out as wide as Jack, does he? He wants to take the shorter line quicker. Now, obviously, that means on your next lap, you're going to be compromising speed, but it doesn't look like Torricelli is going to be interested in speed. He puts P4 on the board. That's still a decent effort, and all of a sudden, for Kevin Sigi-Rebenak, he really needs to pull something out here, doesn't he? Only P5 now.
Yeah, and I don't think that's really good enough if he wants to fight for the win. Julian Kühn here, another driver that is new this year, but already was in the first race at the Hockenheimring. He's now down to 16th position as one of the debutants. Alan Pinches goes ahead of him. Strongest of the debutants for this race is Torricelli in 4th, and then Michael Rechel in 9th position. He's a teammate of Tim Yarshall, even though they drive different liveries, both driving for the Impact Racing team here, and it's good to see him here in the eRacing competition as well.
With a bit of a slide there on exits, as I know this is Norbert Leitner moving up into 14. Andre Santos blading around down in P15. The German's not going to be happy with that, especially given his strong showing last time at the Hockenheimring. Julian Kunze with a purple first sector. Not a great middle sector though as well. And I mean, he's in arguably a worse position than Kevin Sigi-Rebenak down in P7 at the moment, Rob.
Yeah, and Kunze, I mean, he's in the championship. Sanetos into 3rd, wow! Where did this come from?
It's the form table being flipped upside down. Kunze improves, that's a little better, but it's still only up to P5. And now look at Sigi-Rebenak down to P7.
Oh, and I don't think that's enough if he wants to have any chance at winning the race. Keithley is purple again. We're just watching Sanetos here for a moment, and we see this really wide happen. I think we will see a lot of dive bombs in this corner here. Sanetos, what a surprise. The Greek driver, who's always been fast in the pre-qualifying, but never really had any luck in the races, showing his talent here and moving up to 3rd position. So the last laps are coming in.
Last year, didn't he?
And look who's purple. Willem Weyrich.
Well, Weyrich, who was one of the later, or one of the last guys to pre-qualify. What can he do here today? Of course, he took part in... Or did he take part in round 1? I forget.
Yeah, he did.
I'm sure he did qualify.
Oh,
Maulana going faster as well.
Keithley is also purple, but we're going to stay on Maulana here for this lap, because Keithley, of course, already is in provisional pole position. So let's see if the Indonesian has any chance to take the pole position away from Jack Keithley.
He did improve there, but it was only by a couple of hundredths, and you can see that reflected in that first sector. Oh, getting very close to the wall there is Maulana, but it's still a purple sector. Willem Weyrich goes up to P9. That's pretty decent from him. Maulana, is he going to get in slipstream? I don't think he is. He's going to cross the line. Will it be provisional pole? No, it will not. In fact, he doesn't even improve. It was a poor final sector. That means that his qualifying is over. Once the time hits 0, that is it. And actually, for Kevin Sigi-Rebenak, that's it as well. And so Kevin Sigi-Rebenak, the man who pre-qualified in 1st, is going to start from P7. Julian Kühn can't improve either. And do you know what? I think that's pole position number 7 for Jack Keithley, his first of the season.
Weyrich won't get the lap in, so that's, yeah, it's confirmed so far. No one else is on a fast lap at the moment, so pole position will go to Jack Keithley ahead of Andika Rama Maulana. And Andika Rama Maulana, he's the master of the starts. And of course, these two tangled already in the first race, so we're in for a really interesting race. And 2 absolute wildcards on the second row, Sanetos and Chiranku.
That's such a good effort from both of them, really good. And Kunze ultimately doing what he needed to do. Top 5 is much better than anything else. Confirmation there, Jack Keithley picks up his first pole position of Season 3. His 7th pole position in the competition's history, though. We'll see what Maulana and the pack behind can do, but usually when Jack Keithley's on pole position, Rob, it's hard to bet against him for the win.
Yeah, because he's so tough to overtake. He really knows how to defend. He's very experienced. He's been doing this for several years now, and especially with Maulana, Chiranku and Sanetos behind him, there's 3 drivers who don't have the same level of experience. Maybe someone like Kunze could put him under a lot of pressure, but I think this is a very good position for Jack Keithley, who also needs the points.
So, it's straight into the race. There's no formation lap. Nothing like that. It's going to be straight from lights out to the end. 20 minutes of racing action ahead as we bid farewell to the Evo 2 for Season 3. It has been fun, my friend, but now it's time to see what you've got out on track. The lights above the drivers begin to illuminate. The engine revs rise. And here at the Euro Speedway Lausitz, we are off and away. And it looks like a pretty decent start there from, is that Sharanku or Xanatos there in P3?
That's Xanatos, yeah.
Like Keithy's had a bad start as well. Keithy's down to P3 before we've even hit turn 1.
Oh, and Keithley side by side here with Xanatos. Behind them, Kunze in the silver car, up into 4th position. But what a start once again by Maulana, and especially what a start by Xanatos.
He's already jumped Keithley. Alana out into the lead. Kunze has made a decent jump as well. He's up to P4. Sharanku therefore down to P5 as Vierik and Honzik are going. Look at them, 4 wide almost into the hairpin. There's a couple of dive bonds. People tried to jostle for position, and I can't believe they've all gotten through there in one piece. It's an absolute dogfight down there for the final 10 positions. Goodness me.
He just try how many cars can they possibly fit side by side. That's Cortese off there, and I think it's Pinchas as well in the silver car in the background of the track, and they're still going at it very hard here, side by side.
It's only lap 1, guys. You've got to calm down. Norbert Leitner actually in the head of these. He's done pretty well to gain a couple of positions here on lap 1. Just outside the
Keithley.
Keithley's through. He was through briefly on Xanatos. But no cigar. But look at that gap Marlana has. At the end of lap 1, it stands at 1.1 seconds. Xanatos, Keithley, Kunze, Sharanku, Yarshall, Tocacelli, Vierik, Rebenak down to 9th, Honzik rounding out the top 10 as we barrel down into turn 1. Once again, this isn't the greatest camera angle to look at. And Xanatos just about defending. Keithley's going to go around the outside of turn 2, up the inside of turn 3. That's a great move from Jack Keithley, and he maneuvers himself up into P2 once again.
Oh, and Xanatos under fire now, under pressure by Julian Kunze there. With Chiranko and Yarshall right behind, and Keithley forceful move, but good move. Keithley into 2nd place.
Oh, straight back through. Or is this, sorry, Kunze looking. Xanatos, it's no good there. But already you can see the bottle cork effect starting to form. I think that was a spectacular lap by Xanatos. I'm not entirely convinced, Rob, that his race pace is going to match, because you look at Keithley and Maulana continuing to stream away. And all of a sudden Kunze now looking to try and work his way through on the Greek. A little mistake there as well is going to give Kunze all the opportunity he needs around the outside of turn 9. He's going to have to go the long way around into turn 10 if he wants to try and overtake Xanatos. Xanatos on the inside. And is Kunze going to force the issue up the inside now of turn 11? Yes, he is. And that is a good bit of persistence from Julian Kunze as well. The German's up onto P3. And now Xanatos is down to P4 as there's contact with Sharanku and Yarshall behind on the exit of the oval.
On board now with Julian Kunze looking back. There's Yarshall in the white car moving to the inside. Xanatos on the outside. Oh, and Kunze early on the brakes. Just about stays ahead of Xanatos there.
Lucky boy. It's almost nose to tail. Who's that looking up the
Oh,
inside?
Sharanku's off!
Oh, and off goes Sharanku! And I was so quick I couldn't quite see what happened there, but it was in contact with Xanatos, wasn't it? And I wonder whether he knew that Xanatos was on the inside. Tocacelli involved in something as well there, losing a couple of positions. So the biggest winners there, Vierik up to 5th. Yarshall up to 6th, and Honzik and Rebenak both gaining as well, though Tocacelli looking to go around the outside of Rebenak. Oh, and contact there on exit as well. He comes back onto the circuit, and that's behind Leitner as well in P9.
Not sure what happened there to Chiranku. I think it might have been contact with Yarshall, but I'm not 100% sure. Unfortunately, we do not have a replay as they just keep on fighting there in the background. There's Rechel, who's been overtaken by Cortese. And lots of position changes here in the midfield.
There's a lot of door banging in this race already. We've not even reached the 5-minute mark, I should say. A real shame there for Sharanku, especially after an early bout of brilliance in qualifying. He looked like he had the pace to keep up with the front guys as well. The steward's probably going to be looking into that one, I imagine, after the race. But shout out to Andika Marlana, who's managing to maintain that 1 second gap as Junior Kunze breaks a little early again, allows Xanatos to close up. But Marlana doing a sterling job so far.
Yeah, we haven't talked about him ever since the start, but he just absolutely jumped everyone at the start and pulled off a gap. And now with Jack Keithley behind him, you would maybe expect Keithley to close in. But it's not really looking like it at the moment.
Xanatos still there in 4th, whether he had any involvement in the Sharanku incident or not. There Now is arguably one of his chances to score some good points. Is that Kun falling down the order? Yes, it is. Down to 17th, Kun goes. And so obviously he's been caught in a bit of trouble as well. Bayrik, Yarshal, 5th and 6th. And looking now at Jaroslav Honzik in P7, all too often one of the sort of underrated stars of Season 2. Of course, made his way into the live finale. He's a consistent point scorer. He's a race winner in the eRacing competition as well. But in an almighty scrap here, especially with Kevin Siggy Rebenak behind. And how disappointing will this be, Rob, for Siggy Rebenak? I know that at the end of the day, all you've got to do is continue to score points, and ultimately it's going to be that live final, which is where the championship is won and lost. But even down in P8, that's allowing a lot of other drivers in, which going into today might not have thought he would have had even a spot on Rebenak so far.
No, and this certainly shakes up the championship a little bit, because Rebenak, he's in 2nd place in the championship standings right now, and he's certainly going to lose the 2nd place to Maulana if the results stay as they are at the moment.
Yes, and actually Kunze would remain in the lead of the championship, wouldn't he, because of Maulana's penalty from last time out.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise it would be tied on points.
And so a curious situation already arising out of this race, and after some, I wouldn't call it madness, but after some early enthusiasm from the drivers, shall we say, it seems to have settled down into a couple of one-on-one or maybe one-on-one-on-one battles. In this particular case for P5 and P4, Xanatos still there in the higher position, but Wilhelm Weyrich, he's coming back into RaceRoom after a long time out of major competition, and he's looking strong, Rob, is Wilhelm. He showed some good pace. Once again, we reference the land competition. He was there as well, looking decent, looking, quite hungry actually to get back onto the e-racing scene. And a P4 today would certainly not hurt his championship prospects too much at all.
Yeah, he's doing a good job here, but we have to look further back, because Yarshal is trying to defend against Honzik here. Very late on the brakes, has to watch out here with the green area, because you will pick up a penalty if you drive too far over the green area there.
And so maybe talk a little bit about the penalty system, Rob. How exactly does it work?
Well, it's quite simple. If you cut the track, you get a penalty, and the game will slow you down. So it won't happen immediately, but yeah, basically, if you are on the straight, you can pick the place where you take the slowdown, or if you go into the brakes the next time, the game will force the slowdown. And I think we might have a driver who's picked up a slowdown there. That's Kevin Siggy Rebenak. I'm not sure if he gets a slowdown there, or if the curb punishes him enough when he drives over this, because you can see he actually lost a lot of time. But just going over the curb, as that's Leitner there in the black car with the yellow stripe, a little bit off the track, and that could give Toccacelli the opportunity. And yes, Toccacelli up to 9th position.
I think for Leitner, to be fair, even taking 8-point scoring position here today will be pretty good, especially given that he's not been part of the field in round 1. And actually, round 1 for a lot of these drivers, Rob, will leave you with a huge advantage, even if you're just coming in at round 2, because a lot of these drivers now know the field. They know the drivers that they're up against. They know whether they can push hard against them, maybe if they're a little bit unhinged. It's all about knowing your opposition. And who is that? Is that still Leitner looking to get back past Toccacelli? No, in fact, it's Toccacelli having a little go at Kevin Siggy Rebenak into turn 1. Rebenak defends. Does he go a little deep? He does, but he's able to collect it well enough. And Toccacelli's going to try and force the issue up turn 3. That might leave him at the mercy of Leitner behind. Not for the moment, but Kevin Siggy
Leitner!
Very, has what happened, sorry?
Leitner just went completely sideways there. I think he got a little tap by Cortese.
And he's been able to just hold it up, hasn't he? Cortese not out of this points battle yet, actually. The Spaniard, who's now qualified for both races, doing okay, but I'm sure he'd want at least 1 point on the board to sort of make it all worthwhile. Back
Certainly,
up to the front then.
And here's the opportunity, and it's also because drivers like Santos and Hasse are currently out of the points. Santos in 13th only, Hasse in 14th.
So looking at Maulana as we approach rapidly the halfway stage of this race. Still, the gap remains about a second. And I wouldn't say it was being comfortable for Maulana. is never comfortable when you have Keithley within a second of you. But it's not come down at the rate perhaps you would expect such an experienced head as Keithley to be up against a rookie such as Maulana would suggest. Maulana showing the pace is most certainly here to stay this season.
He's been the surprise for me of the season so far, because I have not heard of him so far.
He's had a lot of hype in the Asian community, hasn't he?
Yeah, but he never really competed against the European top drivers. So for me, it was a big surprise that he was so quick, and it just shows the level in Asia now. I mean, Asia always has been strong in gaming, but when it comes to sim racing or e-racing, hasn't really been the case. But Andika Rama Maulana, the Indonesian, he's making probably his whole continent proud with his performances here, keeping very experienced Jack Keithley under control in this race.
I imagine it'll either be, if not very late in the day, then maybe very early in the morning if you are tuning in from further afield, whether you're tuning in from Indonesia, China, or Japan, or wherever you may be coming from. Welcome, and I'm sure you're cheering on Maulana. It'd be great to see more Asian drivers coming through. It'd be great to see some of the Western guys coming through as well in terms of America and South America. Of course, we have a couple of drivers who are dotted in and around the scene, but it'd be nice to see some of the top names coming into the professional arena, so to speak. Looking then back at Wilhelm Weyrich, who's still been unable to get past Xanatos, and looking at Adam Pinches as well, battling away with Haas. A real disappointment actually for Haas, because he was a consistent point scorer last season as well.
Yeah, and he was in the points in the first race as well. But he's not getting on so well with this old car here. Of course, it has a lot less downforce than the current generation of DTM cars. It's certainly different to drive, as Pinches is having a look here in the hairpin. Also just takes a nice defensive line. Leitner and Cortese will just have to go back here, because they are still fighting for the final point in this race.
And a close battle it is as well. You will have to excuse me for one moment. I've unfortunately just lost my screen. There we go. And oh, that's a late lunge there from Cortese. And actually that's allowed Mikkel Reichel in as well. Although Cortese will now have the inside line, and he's just going to hold on. Norbert Leitner holding on to this final point for dear life, and why not as well? It'd be a good thing to score a point in the e-racing competition, although he goes a little bit wide on exit, and this might allow Cortese in, Rob.
Let's see here if he can find the gap, and also Keithley has closed the gap almost completely to Maulana at the front. We will jump back there after we've seen the battles here. Tocacelli in the foreground, trying to move, and Rechel there on the inside of Cortese. That was a late move. Oh, Cortese can just about hold on to the position.
He holds on for now. For now. It could go anyway at this particular point. So we have, what's that, 6.5 minutes left of this race. It's Maulana from Keithley. Kuntz are on the podium again. Really looking good for his championship chances. Xanatos from Weyrich, Yarshel, Honzik, Rebenak, Tocacelli, and Leitner rounding out the top 10. And in these last couple of laps, Rob, Jack Keithley has started to become a bigger and bigger presence in the rear mirrors of Maulana. I very specifically said it didn't look comfortable for Maulana, that lead. It's certainly going to become less comfortable as Keithley gets into slipstream range.
Let's see if he's close enough here. You can just see the different lines. Keithley always on a very narrow line, and Maulana just takes a wider line, also takes a little bit more speed on the exit.
This is going to be where the biggest amount of slipstreaming is going to be gained. You can see there Keithley's car closing. He takes a little peek out. He wants to size up this move, doesn't he? And he's got the time to still do it, Rob. But I don't think he's going to be able to let up for one moment, because Maulana's just that quick at the moment. He needs to almost give it the one opportunity, and that's got to stick.
Just 5 minutes to go, and closing the gap is one thing, but finding a way to pass, that's another thing for sure. And not sure where Jack Keithley can really attempt this.
An interesting line there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looking to have a wide berth in. Ultimately, it doesn't. I think it extends the gap a little, I would wager that that was probably a missed braking point for Keithley, and he goes a little wide there as well. But once again, Rob, we're getting into the stage of the race where we begin to talk tyres. These tyres aren't endurance tyres. They're not tyres which have no wear. You know, they do fall off a cliff at one point. And if Keithley is using up the tyres at this particular point to try and catch up to Milana, is that going to be an extra factor as well to consider in trying to make that overtaking opportunity stick?
It could certainly be the case. Keithley is known to be always very good on his tyres. As we can see, Cortese here, he hasn't given up on the final point against Norbert Leitner.
Leitner's defending very well, to tell you the truth. But one thing that's playing in his favour is Michel Reichel actually there in P12, because Cortese's got to keep his eyes behind as well as in front. And talking of keeping eyes behind, well, here comes Jack Keithley, Rob. And there is a reason why he is the man with the most wins in the eRacing competition, and that is because he is fast and he can overtake. And Milana's going to possibly learn that very shortly.
The question is, where can Keithley try to make the overtake? Because there are certain corners, especially in the beginning of the lap, where Milana just looks stronger than Keithley.
I agree. It looks like unless there is an instant between these two, I mean, Kuntz is 3 seconds behind at this point, so not ruling out an incident.
Oh, Weirich in the background there.
He's getting frustrated behind Xanatos, isn't he?
Let's see if he's trying something crazy, but I mean, for Weirich, the 5th position, that's very good. Certainly still puts him in contention for a top 5 finish in the championship.
Xanatos is even better.
Yeah, Xanatos, he has no points so far. So great performance by him.
I'm pretty sure and pretty confident in saying that P4 here today would give Xanatos more points than he scored throughout the entirety of Season 2.
I think that's very likely.
They're looking to score the maximum amount of points. Jack Keithley and Dika Rama Milana. Which, once again, Keithley gets close, he uses the slipstream.
Oh, Santos!
Santos is in the wall and he's out!
Not sure what happened there to Santos. That looked like a very strange place to spin. It's Honzik goes past Yarshel. Now the fight is on. 2.5 minutes to go. And everyone's battling here for the points.
Very close, isn't it? Of course, Rebenak there now behind Yarshel. Don't count on Toccacelli as well. A very impressive first event from the Italian. I wonder if Yarshel's tyres in defending so hard have begun to wane just a little bit. Ooh. Toccacelli looking up the inside. I think Honzik goes a little deep there as well. Yarshel tags the inside of Honzik, but the Czech driver stays ahead. But now Keithley's into the lead.
What happened there?
Keithley's into the lead.
That must have been a mistake by Maulana, but Maulana still holds the inside here.
Oh, no, he's gone very deep, hasn't he? Although, actually, that might help him on exit as we go through turn 9 now. Yeah, Maulana's just been able to stay ahead, but Jack Keithley is turning the screw ever so slightly more and more, cranking up the pressure. And let's see, how long is it for a lap here? It's 1 minute 20s, isn't it? So we're going to have 2 more laps of this, Rob. It's almost like a repeat of race 1, but with 2 completely different drivers.
Let's see when he crosses the line here, if it's actually going to be 2 more laps. I think it should be, unless they make contact. Oh, we don't see them at the moment. Here, Maulana, that's too late on the brakes! Oh, and that's certainly going to be a slowdown penalty for Maulana. Did he? Maybe it was such a small slowdown that he just got away with it by just tapping the brakes there once.
He went very deep, but the beauty of turn 2 is that you're instantly on the inside for there as well, and you can sort of use that sling through the corner. So Maulana has just about gotten away with it for now. These two have completely dropped Julian Kuntzer over the last lap or so. You can see him there in the background. Still a figure that will be looking to capitalise if there is contact between the two. But not really going to be in for the straight fight.
I think this could be the last lap. It was just about 1:25 when he crossed the line. 24.7 is the fastest lap of Keithley, and with this mistake by Maulana, they won't be setting a new lap record here. So let's see if Keithley has a chance, and then we see at the line if it's going to be another lap or not.
20 seconds remain. We're heading into turn 10 now, and then turn 11. Jack Keithley still all over the back of Andika Maulana. Let's see. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We go towards the line. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think that is it. And Dika Maulana wins here at Euro Speedway Lowitz. And what a fantastic way to finish as well. Literally tenths, or not even tenths, hundredths between him and Keithley. But the Indonesian, after picking up his first podium in the eRacing competition at the Hockenheimring, picks up his first win in the eRacing competition at Lausitz. Amazing stuff. Jack Keithley there picking up a podium. To be fair, after the event that he had last time, he'll be happy with that. Kunze continues to extend that championship lead. He is 5 points ahead of Maulana now. A win and a podium for him. Great stuff there. Followed by Xanatos. What a great race for him as well. Sorry, I lie. Vierik ahead of Honzik. Yarshall ahead of Tokacelli, who got ahead of Kevin Sigi-Rebenak in a nightmare event for the Austro-Slovenian. And Norbert Leitner did hold on there for the final point, Rob.
What a race. Once again, so close with the times. And this time it was not another race. I think Florian Hasse has a problem there with his transponder on the car, as he is listed behind Andre Santos. But yeah, that was quite a second round.
What a second round indeed, and I think we are witnessing, I should say, the birth of quite a little star. And Dika Rama Maulana, there was that bit of contact in round one, Rob, that kind of soured the podium a little. There is no denying that he fully deserved that win today.
And I think there will be some discussions for the last lap, first corner, when he cut the track there. I guess that's just part of racing. That's just part of the modern circuits that we see everywhere. And I think Maulana just got away with it there. Just picked up a small slowdown. It was the first time that we saw him cutting the track in the whole event. And yeah, what a story. Andika Rama Maulana, the first driver who is not from Europe to take a race win in the Mercedes-AMG eRacing competition.
And actually, only the 5th driver to take a win in the competition's history.
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes of what Season 3 has in store for you guys out there watching, whether it's live here today or on replay. For so long, it was pretty much a two-man field between Heinemann and Keithley. Honzik and Kunze provided a bit of spice throughout Season 2, but now Kunze with a win in Race 1, Maulana with a win in Race 2. And Rob, there's an extra spice added to the mix once we head to the Hungaroring for round 3, because we're switching up cars as well.
And the 1995 car, the Mercedes C-Class, it's completely different. This is a car which is much more powerful. It has traction control. It has ABS, because back then in the DTM or the ITC series, the cars were very developed. It was probably at a higher standard than Formula 1 at the time. And this car has a lot of power. And even with the traction control, it's very hard to drive. And for sure, we will see some drivers trying to turn off the traction control completely to, have even more control with their own feet. And it will be interesting. And I think the field will be completely reshuffled. I'm sure we will see some new drivers joining the competition as well. And if you want to try it, head over to RaceRoom, download the game for free, and join the competition, because the qualifier for the Hungaroring is still on.
Got a week to set your laps, so do so. And of course, if you're just looking to spectate, to watch the action, then be sure to be in the same place at the same time in 2 weeks. We head to the virtual Hungaroring. The big questions on our lips now. Will Kunze maintain this wonderful start to 2018, which sees him lead the championship by 5 points? Will Maulana build upon this breakthrough campaign in e-racing? And what of Jack Keithley after a disappointing round 1? What a way to bounce back. Pole position, not the win he was looking for, but still a second. He's still a threat to a lot of these drivers. Oh, so many things to find out. I hope that you join us then. I guess all it serves us to say now is to thank you all very much for joining. A big thank you, of course, to my co-commentator, Rob Wiesenmuller. I've been James Kirk, and from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.